Welcome to Wednesday Comics.
Brought to you by rootsoftheswampthing.com and Siouxpercon 2018 Return of the Con.
Hey everyone, keep turning those pages.
Welcome to Wednesday Comics. To my right, we have Craven the Hunter himself, Alex.
Hello everyone.
There's someone behind you.
And across me, we have Hobgoblin himself, Garrett. Garrett, how you doing?
Doing awesome.
And I am Rhino Marvin. Garrett, why Hobgoblin? You don't
Because he's the advanced version of Green Goblin.
Is he?
Green Goblin sucks so bad that Hobgoblin came in and fixed it.
Hobgoblin versus Green Goblin. Who wins? Call your brother up and ask him.
Green Goblin would win, probably.
No, text your brother and ask him that question. He'll say.
See, I don't know. That's hard. I would say
he's a hardcore.
I would say Green Goblin would actually win because it's his original. At least in the cartoon, his suit was made from Hobgoblin's outfit, and then the goblin gas distorted it and turned it green.
But Hobgoblin, doesn't he use Green Goblin stuff? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying Green uses
opposite.
Hob.
Okay.
The Hobgoblin came first. I think he came first.
Who did?
Who came first?
No, Green Goblin did.
Really?
Yeah.
He's in the Gwen Stacy storyline.
Well, I suppose that's early. That's what, 191?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Hobby might come first. I just feel like, at least in the show, it doesn't Hobgoblin come second and he just takes all his stuff.
Yeah.
Green Goblin, because he finds it. So, like, if you talk OG, the guy who made it, that's Green Goblin.
But Green Goblin is so crazy. He's like the Joker. He's a loose cannon. Hobgoblin doesn't.
Yeah, you go loose cannon.
Hobgoblin doesn't have that factor, so he can just focus on the mission. He gets to be Deathstroke, Green Goblin.
Dude, I'd rather...
He goes in, finds a target, kills it.
If you're causing chaos, you go Green Goblin.
See, but I'd agree. I think everyone likes Green Goblin far too much. That Hobgoblin is the wiser choice. One, he's more stable. He's got the sweetest gear. Like there's always the pumpkin bombs. Who gives a shit?
Dude,
have you seen that fucking laser fire sword he uses as Hobgoblin?
That cloak. That orange cloak.
You're basically telling me you'd rather be Joker's daughter than Joker. That's what you're saying.
That's not even a thing.
That's exactly.
Joker's daughter shouldn't even exist. No one even knows about her anymore.
She's the one. She's what, wearing his face?
Yeah.
His
dead.
carved off face.
Dead.
Dude. She's even crazier because she's wearing a face that by now is probably molded to her face.
She's dead.
Is she gone?
I don't know.
I thought I saw her recently in a book.
Waste of space in that comic.
Neo Joker from White Knight.
That's the only thing for New 52 I didn't get. Like, we're rebooting this universe, but Joker won't be in it until he comes back in Snyder's run eventually.
They wanted to, the New 52, the first arc, they wanted new villains. That's why.
That's why.
So they got rid of him for a while. But then the second arc, a lot of people got brought back, and Joker just stayed hidden for a long time. But it worked out. Remember that when he comes back, it's kind of scary when he comes back as that person in Arkham. Then you don't know it's him, and then he's like, he turns out to be Joker.
True, that was a good twist.
It works.
Oh, that's right. He was the orderly or whatever.
Yeah,
that was a great issue of Batman. That's a different kind of. It's weird thinking back to that Batman because at that time, that Batman was like, it was like the best thing that was happening at the time. It was Scott Snyder's thing that like broke him out and was like, look at this guy. And now he's basically DC's like number one guy. And it's weird thinking back at that time that like how popular that was. And then now we have Tom King's Batman and it's kind of doing the same thing. Like, you know, like sometimes Batman has runs that aren't as... It's weird that it hit twice. And then before that, you had Grant Morrison, so like 3 times in a row. You have these great storylines. So I just wonder who comes next.
After Tom King?
Yeah, who do you take? But
you know, the thing with Scott Snyder though is that he to me he feels like he's signing checks that he can't cash anymore. I'm reading JL.
Dude, I know. Okay, but slow down now. You did not say that about Batman, though. You liked his Batman.
No. I'm saying
that's what we're talking about here.
Yes,
I know now. I agree.
I'm saying Scott Snyder now.
Right.
I couldn't do what you're right. Did. New 52 Batman, holy shit, is literally the best series in that whole New 52 arc. JL back then was actually, I liked that one.
That was pretty good.
Jeff Johns was good.
Yep.
But now when I read Scott Snyder, and I'm like, dude, you're not the golden boy that you thought it to be. I would give Tom King right now the golden boy for who's making DC worth their time in reading.
Yeah, I think Batman's gotten to his head a little bit, and he's like, I got all this prestige now. What can I do with it?
It's weird that he keeps escalating, being like, I got to make this bigger and better. when what made those stories work most of the time, like even his detective run before Batman, it was that they were so small scale and more about Batman as a character. And then now he keeps in Justice League, like his Justice League No Justice thing was like huge and like what's I forgot what it's called? What's it called?
Metal.
Yeah, Dark Knight's Metal.
Dark Knight's Metal. Even that was like, oh, this is going to change the universe. It's like, dude, calm down. You know what I mean? Like everything's like,
well, he promises things. He promises it before it even comes out. Let the book just sell and see. Then at that point, go, wow, you know what? Metal really was a game changer. And guess what? It's not.
Did you ever read his Severed book?
No.
Scott, that book is great, fantastic. It's a horror book. I think it's like 4 issues. Like that's the Scott that I miss. Like the guy who wasn't like doing huge stories about like universe ending epidemics. It was about like this kid, like the serial killer it was like circus times 1930s and this runaway kid. And that's American Vampire. I don't know where American Vampire is. Like all these stories, and even American Vampire started escalating, but it had a core group of characters that those books were about those characters, so they still like had some grounded stuff in it. I just find it weird that like he keeps escalating, and it's like, dude, that's not what you do though. Like, I think he wants to be like Grant Morrison too much, and Grant Morrison can do that because Grant Morrison goes into a room and does Peyote, and is that what it's called? Yeah. And Peyote, and then it comes out and goes, dude, I just fucking tripped out, and this thing's gonna go in a comic book. You know what I mean?
But at least when he does that and it comes out, the book is great.
Yeah,
so he's doing something right with it.
That's the way Grant Morrison thinks, though. And
Scott's going into it and coming out and writing shit.
And I know Scott likes Grant Morrison. I think he wants to replicate that, but he's not. I don't think he's great at that. Like every story, like Alex was saying, that he like talks up like that, it never sells me on what actually is on the page. But if you think back to those stories, those Batman stories, like the greatest issue, there was that. What issue was that Batman story where it was like on the streets? It was it was one of the one shots, like 50, I think, or like 42, something like that.
In what range? Are you doing New 52?
New 52. It was that one where it was like about that kid who got shot.
Riley Rosmo's book.
Yeah.
Oh, what was it?
That was 40... one of the greatest issues.
Shit. 43?
Yeah, it was right before the end, right before the last arc.
No, 43 was Bloom. So it had to be like 34, I think.
It was right before the last arc, and it was one of the greatest issues of Batman because it was like just saying like, what happens to the people in Gotham? Like, can Batman protect them all? This kid gets shot in the streets. I think it was by police, right? It was like about a story about police brutality and all that kind of stuff. So those are like the great stories, and I miss that, Scott. That's who I miss.
Yeah.
Like even like when he does like these kind of one shot stories and like anthology things, I'm like, that's the guy I want to read. And that's the guy who I started liking. And that's the same thing with Tom King. Like he does good in the stories. I just hope we never get the Tom King that's like, hey, I'm going to make a event book. And it's like, no, you're not the guy who does that. Like,
right.
So
I think. Dream team pick for who would take over Batman after Tom King would be Donny Cates, but he's obviously going to be tied up in Marvel for years.
I wouldn't mind if we were talking about Brian Hill before the show.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Realistically, Brian Hill.
That's the issue.
34.
I think he's really growing some prestige in, writing Batman. That detective run was awesome.
Yeah, he was creating detective.
And I told you guys, read Postal because he writes all that.
Yeah,
it's so good.
I'll read that on Hoopla or somewhere free. I'm not going to go be crazy and buy it.
I like Brian Hill though. Michael Cray's been great. Mm-hmm. And that's those kind of stories that I kind of want to see in Batman, like that more realistic kind of take, and like quit doing. Well, now we're talking about Batman, but I mean, like where Scott went with Justice League, like the Justice League I want to see. Also, like Grant Morrison on Green Lantern said he's going to make it more like kind of one shots and make it about this space cop, go back to what it originally was. Go back to the Justice League, and like it's supposed to be these guys teaming up together. Like when you watch that TV show, it's about the different kind of groups you can get together. It's not always about like the biggest, baddest Justice League facing the biggest, baddest bad guys. It's sometimes about Booster Gold teaming up with them, Blue Beetle teaming up with them, and then they go on adventures and like, hey, it's a good thing we brought this guy because he really fits for this kind of thing. And it's supposed to be an adventure kind of book. And I'm just tired of universe ending
like grand scale. Yeah.
Yeah.
Justice League should be. Especially with a new team like this, we should be getting small victories leading into a greater victory later on. Not, holy fuck, the biggest thing that you've ever seen is going to happen right now.
That was actually a pretty good free talk, so we won't actually go into what I was going to talk about. Let's.
To be fair, you sound surprised that we can actually have a good conversation.
Well, that came out of him picking Hobgoblin instead of Green Lantern. It's kind of weird how we just. That's why we do this show.
Green Lantern.
What did I say?
You said
Green Lantern.
Green Lantern.
Which one? Green Lantern or Hobgoblin?
Green Lantern, obviously.
Oh yeah,
No
say
shit.
I would love that power ring.
You would take, if you gave Hobgoblin the Green Lantern ring, though, he would just like insert a blade inside somebody and then just let it expand outward. So
RootsOfTheSwampThing.com, your definitive online source for all things Swamp Thing. Holland Files number 2 is out. Garrett, how is it?
Holland File 2's was awesome. A lot of cool like images that you haven't got to see in Holland Files number 1. So definitely looking forward to finishing this bad boy.
And that's not the only thing. If you want to learn more about Swamp Thing, Alex, where would you go?
You're gonna go to rootsoftheswampthing.com.
Make sure to stay in touch at rootsofswampthing.com on Twitter at DC World Swampy, Facebook.com/Roots of the Swamp Thing. Let's get into comic books real quick here. Gideon Falls number 6, am I correct? This is Andrea Sorrentino and Jeff Lemire. Boys, Jesus. You think Andrea Sorrentino, you think he ever looks at a comic and says, I'm going to phone this one in. This guy...
This is the best looking issue.
It was amazing.
Some of the panel work in here. There's one page, 24 panels. It's like a 2-page one, and the top 2 rows of panels of 8 are smaller than the middle ones. That page I stared at forever and was like, this man is peak comic book art. Like when I try to explain to somebody like what's different about comics, we're like, why can't it be a movie? Or like, why can't it be a book? You show them this comic and be like, this is why. This is what comics are, like comic book art can be. And this story keeps like I think Garrett said it perfectly when we reviewed like issue 2. Something creepy with this book. I don't know what it is. It just gives that sense of dread.
Yeah, it's eerie and just you don't know. Like that's the thing is like in comics nowadays, a mystery never lasts that long. It never does. And I mean, like Department H, that had a mystery that did last quite a bit. And I feel like we're going to get the same thing here. Like we're going to get a lot of pieces, but we're never going to see the whole until the very end of this entire run.
Is this ongoing?
And that's what keeps it. I believe
so because issue 7 comes out in October. I'm hoping at least it's like a 14 issue run like Royal City where he has a story to tell.
I think it can go longer than that. There's so much backstory, so much that can be pushed into the series that
Something about this book that I find really interesting. Usually a lot of times when you get stories that have like that great mystery and like you're trying to figure it out, they kind of sacrifice character work for that. And I think these characters are great. Like I feel when the father goes in to save, was it this issue, right? Sorry, I read like 3 and a half.
Wilfred.
They go in there to save him. Like I felt like worried for everybody involved that we've been seeing for this whole time because like there's just small little scenes that you see with them, her father and the father and like talking and even the psychiatrist and what's the main guy's name? Norman. Like them talking, like everything that these guys are involved with. Every time they go, it's that sense of being like, well, okay, like I don't want them to get hurt, right? And when we see like that weird scene that the father goes through, it's also like, I hope he's not like lost there forever. Like it's kind of weird because usually they sacrifice that mystery or sacrifice character work because they're like, hey, we got to pump up this mystery and who cares? Like nobody's going to pay attention to these people. Like they want to know the mystery. And it's like, no, in this one, Jeff Lemire, and we should know this, like Jeff Lemire is great about building these characters and like, but also keeping that mystery interesting. Like you said, it's not like, oh, here all is. Each issue we find out a little bit more, but then also there's like 15 more questions I get. So, like seeing the world actually just makes it a little bit more interesting, but also a little bit more confusing. Being like, what's this thing now? Do they have like, what's this black barn? Is it some sort of alternate universe? There's a freaking page where he jumps off the panel.
Yeah.
Onto a table.
See, that part kind of disappointed me. Like I thought going into the black barn, like it would have been way more terrifying as we see the inside. I mean, at least a part of what we see on the inside of that black barn. I was like, once I was inside it with the Wilfred character, that's the only part I was like, I don't know. Is this really the scary thing? Like, I don't know.
I think it's kind of like madness personified.
Yep. Right. Well, I was wondering if it's
like
per person because the daughter hears something and she thinks that she's hearing her brother talk to her. And so, what if it's your biggest fear? Things that he can't quantify, things that aren't faith based, things that he knows or believes in. This is showing him all sorts of crap, and he's just getting thrown around. That here's your 2 options that he's given is what, a teddy bear and the answers to everything.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I got to go for the teddy bear because I want to save this girl. He still has that humanity to him, where the other option would have been probably goes down the rabbit hole even farther and then gets sucked into the black barn.
It is like I think it is what Alex said. It's like, what are your fears? And I'm gonna make sure that you experience them during this time. There is like when he jumps off that page, he's thinking about like what's beyond this, like what really is going on, and then for that to happen, it's kind of like a meta moment, being like you really don't even exist. Like you're on this page, and there's a part also when he is sitting there. That was his wife, right?
Yeah.
that he talks to.
Yep.
That his
No,
wife that died.
was it his wife or a mistress?
No, it was his wife.
okay.
I think he talked about his wife.
Or maybe if it wasn't his wife, it was his love interest.
Well, I mean, I knew it's a love interest, but I didn't know if it was literally like he was married at one point in time and he goes, well, this is wrong. But when he goes, it's wrong, it makes me think that she was an escort of some kind. And he keeps meeting her. And he goes, we can't keep doing this. This is
I guess
wrong.
you're right.
And then she like starts bleeding from her stomach, and then she turns into the girl that he's looking for, a detective sheriff. What's her name?
Sheriff. I don't know what her name is.
But also during that moment, like you said, it's like his anxiety and fears, like he was in this kind of affair, and maybe she got pregnant, and that's what the bleeding is, that maybe she lost the baby, and then maybe that's why he came to fatherhood, or maybe during the time he was a father. We don't know. Like, these characters are still unraveling, so we don't know exactly the specifics. But when they're in this world, yes, it seems like you're on the fear toxin. It's like, what do you fear, and what makes you anxious? What makes you dread things? And that's what I'm going to make sure that. And the people who go in there and like it, like this guy who ends up killing the deputy and shoots the sheriff in the stomach, this guy likes that feeling, being in there and being like feeling that fear. And like, it almost is like kind of like Scarecrow. Like, he likes that fear and he likes seeing, and he's used to this. And like, that's how he thrives in that universe. And maybe it kind of reminds me a little bit. Here's 3 things that reminds me of. I'm not sure if you guys seen 7, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The Norman part, that feels like a lot like 7. I don't know what it is about it. I think it's just the color work and like those two trying to figure out this mystery. It also kind of feels like True Detective in a way, because it's out in the country, like, and it's kind of crazy going on. But also, if you ever read The Dark Tower, it feels really Dark Tower-ish, because it's like, instead of, there's in the second book, The Drawing of the Tree, they go through a door to go to the universes, and that's what the Black Barn feels like to me. It's like they go between universes.
I thought you were talking about that boring one called The Gunslinger.
Shut up. Everybody write Garrett and tell him to read The Dark Tower. He thinks The Gunslinger is boring.
It's boring as crap.
But I like everything about this book. I was reading it, and I was like, God, I love this book. It's 6 issues in, and like you said, it could go forever or it could go 14. I'm not sure how long it'll go, but I'm enjoying every single minute of it.
Yeah, I'd give it a 10. I think the dread it gives, the art by Sorrentino, like that shadow work is incredible. Whenever you're in the Black Barn, like, you would think, like, basically you could just paint red, but you can see the sketching of like the sides of the barn, and you can see the artwork in there, not just blank space. That kills it. And Jeff Lemire, character development. I think he uses the characters to help with that mystery, as opposed to, just having people be involved in a mystery. So that's what makes it way enjoyable.
There are 3 things for this book that I love. 1, love the cover. At least the cover
It's
A.
3 things you guys got going.
What?
What did I say? 3?
I don't know. You said, I got 3 things I love about this week. Like, I got 3 things I love about this week. I'm like,
Well, to be fair, I only remember 2 of them. So I have 3. That covered like the monster, big smiley goon thing. He's not actually in this issue.
I want to see
where
him. Where
normally
is he?
he shows up and it's always that turn of the
I
page.
forgot about him.
But he's on the cover, at least for cover A. The other part was the sheriff. So she gets shot in the gut. I'm thinking, oh my God, really? We're going to kill this woman off? To find out at the end now, realize she's not dead. Like, I was surprised. It was one of those things I expected for an Image book, to lose this character that we're starting to like and be like, oh, well, she's just going to get flushed aside. We're going to go to something else. I was like, okay, sweet. Someone didn't have to die. There's a third person that Father Wilfred is talking to. Do we know who that is? The shadow figure? And the one who's literally sitting in like the big bad guy chair.
See, I like that too. That was one of the questions I said, that even though we keep finding out more, there's more questions. He calls somebody and says, why did you send me here? Like, he goes, do you know about did he mention the Black Barn?
Yeah.
I think he does. He says, there's a whole thing going on here about like the Black Barn. He goes, why did you send me here? He goes, you're exactly where you need to be.
Right.
Just like,
that is kind of creepy.
So
what
like
if they turn the lights on and it's that guy?
It's like, how big is this conspiracy? Remember, that's what Norman, he thinks it's a conspiracy to keep the Black Barn hidden. So does the church know about it? And they're trying to keep it hidden too. Like, what is the Black Barn? What is this other universe? What is this shadow character? And also, I find it interesting, like Alex was saying, like, the sheriff lives, but she still doesn't believe like any of this. Like, she thought she was like hallucinating and all this stuff like that.
Yeah.
The father's a little skeptical, but he also believes a little bit, and then her father is fully in. So you got this nice dynamic of somebody who believes it fully, somebody who's like halfway, and then somebody who doesn't believe it at all is very skeptical.
Well, Father Wilfred has to believe it now.
He's seen things that he can't explain.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So
but he also is, a man. He's a man of the cloth, where he's like, hey, you know what? I believe in a higher figure. What's to say there isn't a demon like this type of thing?
So now you got this kind of X-Files thing going on, where one person believes and one person is very skeptical. And
I remember my third thing.
Yeah.
So if Andrea Sorrentino was working on this during Secret Empire, by all means, you could have called in that Secret Empire because this book. I mean, we were talking about the 24 panels. He literally knows. He's a guy, right?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I know them, but I just want to make
He's
sure.
Italian.
Of course,
Antonio
my people.
Sorrentino.
Pastrami.
He is probably one of the best at the obscure pictures, like in Old Man Logan.
Yeah.
Where you're trying to read this book and it's effed up when you're following the dragon scales. Like, okay, this book, it reads right and it looks great. There's so many panels in this book. There's so many pages that I just go, holy crap, you're right. I don't phone it in. 100% work. This book was a 10.
You actually reminded me though, because on Secret Empire he kind of like did phone it in, or maybe that wasn't his kind of not phone it in, but maybe that wasn't for
I think
him.
he was rushed.
That wasn't for him. Like they were like, "Hey, we want you because you're doing good at work," but then they also like they restrained him. When
They
have
gridlocked him.
when you unrestrain this guy, you get this work, and like this issue is amazing.
Because he puts details and faces, even when it's the 24 panels, minute things that he's pointing out, and he's my favorite at it. When he wants you to look at something, here's where you're looking, here's the zone into this thing, but here's what the big picture looks like. Oh, it's the best.
A very cinematic way of drawing. Like when they're in that field, they come up to the place where it's all flattened out, and he circles them so you can see them, and then he like zooms in on them. God, it's so great. And that's the thing about. Also, I just noticed that. I don't know if you noticed at the end of the book. This is the end of book 1. It says.
Yeah.
So this is like the first arc, and then the next one's not coming out for a couple months. October. It's coming back for Halloween. And so if you are listening to this, you're like, hey, this sounds pretty cool. Get this trade. I'm pretty sure that's why there's like a month break. There's
It'll probably come out next month, or maybe the month that it comes back. Sometimes
I'll look it up
they do
here in a
that.
second. But this is a 10 out of 10 for me. I love this whole series. Like, we talked about the year Jeff Lemire was last year. And so far this year, we're 8 months in. I'm pretty sure he's going to repeat.
We're working on a dynasty right now.
This guy,
Doesn't rhyme.
I don't like I read something, I don't know if it was on Twitter or where he did this interview recently, but he was talking about his work ethic, and like he doesn't work in his home because he knows he won't get any work done. He goes out to a studio and spends like 8 hours working because he like has a normal, even though he doesn't have a normal job, he keeps a normal schedule because he knows otherwise you go at home and then you're like, hey, I'm not going to work today because something else came up, and you lose time by being like making excuses for yourself. And he said, so he's kind of built this habit for himself where he doesn't feel right if he's not writing, and he feels like he's wasting time, and he kind of gets anxious about it, being like, man, I'm wasting time. And it proves it. Like this guy he keeps a consistent schedule. I don't think his books have ever been delayed recently, last 2 years at least.
Yeah.
It's been great, fantastic, all his work. He'll do miniseries, he'll do ongoings, and this guy is fantastic.
And he's in everything. He's Independence, he does Marvel, does DC.
He's drawing Rose City while he's at it, too. And and then to come in, he's coloring that book. He's doing everything with that book.
Wait, he's on, doesn't he? No, that's Matt Kent. I was thinking Black
And
Badge.
so
Well, I was going to ask you, are Matt Kent and Jeff Lemire, you think, like best friends?
they are very similar.
Their art style is...
Because they literally got same art style. They both are dedicated to a story. Like Department H, great. I have a feeling Black Badge is going to be spectacular. I know that Matt's not drawing it, but art or words and script wise, that's great.
Yeah.
I'm reading Sweet Tooth, and there's a Matt Kent arc where Jeff Lemire is still a part of it, but I think Matt Kent's doing the art. It's like, dude, you guys are just
killing it.
Blow my mind.
I do have an update from #GuestHost1. He says Green Goblin for sure would beat Hobgoblin.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, but he's just that clown. Just that's all he reads is Green Goblin. He doesn't know that Hobgoblin is the better version.
Gideon Falls Volume 1, The Black Barn, comes out on October 23rd, 2018. And
it's probably the same day the issue comes out.
So get the newest issue. This thing is fantastic. It is definitely a series, even though there's a lot of great panel work, and sometimes it might be a little, if you're a new reader, kind of hard to read, but I would say if you're looking for peak comic books, you have a great artist called Andrea Sorrentino, and you have Jeff Lemire, the year of Jeff Lemire once again.
Round 2.
Round 2.
If we get to year 3, we're going to start calling it the Dynasty. We have to.
I think at that point in time, if he's on the third year of amazingness, fucking drop one of my other books.
He definitely right now, as somebody who strives to like be creative, I look at him and be like, that's what I want to be. Like, great stories. You have a work ethic that like you keep up with it, and you can change your voice so much from this horror comic, and then Royal City, and then he's doing Terrifics, which is kind of like a Silver Age like fun thing.
He's got like Black Hammer, and
which is like his own superhero universe, and he can jump around so much, and he never ever feels. I think what's the newest book you just put out? And you're like, it doesn't feel like Oh no, there's somebody else. Excuse me. But also, it never feels like this is Jeff writing this. Some people you read them and you go, "This is this person writing this book." Scott Snyder does a lot. I'm like, "This is Scott." Like I know who it is. But Jeff Lemire never feels like it's Jeff Lemire writing. It always feels unique to that story.
Well, and he knows how to write supers. He knows how to write horror. He does know how to write comedy as Plastic Man from Terrific. So.
Yeah. Or if it's just Royal City and just about human interaction and
family drama.
Family drama. It's great too. 10 out of 10.
Yes, 10s for all three of us.
Yep.
So we also got Wild Storm number 16, written by Warren Ellis and art by John Davis Hunt. So we're back into what's the John Thunder book was his name? I don't remember.
Thunder book,
Lynch.
Yeah, Lynch.
It's John Lynch.
He is going finding Team 7, right? Finding all these aliens.
He's finding the Thunder book experiments.
Yeah.
And so that's what he runs into this issue. He runs into, forgive me, I don't remember what her name was.
Jenny Mae Sparks.
Is that what her name, the crazy lady upside down?
Oh, no,
Seems
not
to have
her. No, I'm thinking
godly powers. Sparks, isn't she the one in the mechanic girl?
Yep.
Yeah,
Who's
she lives on
waiting
the
for
internet.
mob family to come fight her.
I'll look
She's
it up,
gonna beat the shit out of them.
Yeah.
This book, you know what? I'm on the fence. I think this book looks great. I like what's the right word? I'm going to say political, and it's probably not the right term. But there's political things amongst these factions.
Gloria Spalding is that lady.
Is the lady on the ceiling? Okay. I'm kind of in the same boat you are, Garrett. I'm going to see this book through. It's 8 issues left. What's the big deal? But
it's getting lost in itself a little bit
Kinda.
story-wise. But I will say this issue did bring me back into the fold a bit because the art was amazing. And, that's kind of what we look for is when you let art tell the story. I think there was maybe 8 pages in this book where there was no text whatsoever. It was just art propelling the story, and that was really fun. I think, they should almost just call this Wildstorm IO versus Skywatch. If it's just 2 organizations fighting each other. Yeah. Everything else kind of becomes secondary. So I went into this book being the same way. Like I'm like, I'm kind of getting sick of the story. Like it's kind of reminding me of Paper Girls when it was in that time where it was just like, what the fuck is going on?
I don't find it that confusing. I know what's going on.
No, I just said I don't find it confusing anymore.
Oh, well, I was even when I was reading the other issues, like I caught up on 14 through 16, 3 issues.
I thought you were going to say I read 14 issues.
No.
Holy shit. You should have dropped this book.
Even reading those, like I was never confused. It's just that I feel like it's weird for a 24 issue series to feel like it's still ramping up at issue 16.
Yeah.
It feels, this was always to like build this universe, and they're supposed to have books that come out of this book. Like they're going to have like a, Wildcats book. They're going to have a Authority book come out of this. We met Jenny and what's her name? Their robot.
Angela Spica.
They met. They're part of Authority, so like they met in this issue finally. And so like there's all these books that are going to come out of this book, obviously, and that's what it's building to. But it feels weird that it felt like the first 12, right?
Yeah.
The first 12 felt like it built to something, and that's what it was. And this one doesn't feel like, I know we're only 4 in, but it doesn't feel like it's building to anything. It still feels like it's like just going along.
But maybe that's what the whole point is. So the first half of it was the Wildcats-esque thing, because Grifter's part of that.
You haven't seen them since 12.
Well, we've seen
Grifter's getting his own
Cole
miniseries.
once.
That's probably why.
Papa will get that book. I think maybe that's the thing is that I want those characters that we've been introduced to. I realized Angela was in it, or was her name the engineer?
Yeah.
We've met her, and at the end of this issue, we get to see that her powers are getting even better. She's getting to be able to make a weapon out of her robot hand, and she even goes, "I need to see how things work to make it." It's like, sweet, I love the science. That's exciting for a guy who wants logic. That makes sense to me.
That's what I do like about this book a lot. It's very logical, and it's like the action scenes are very realistic, but not realistic being like, yeah, that's like
that couldn't happen.
It's still realistic, but stylish.
Yeah.
And almost like John Wick in that kind of way.
Yeah.
And so in each issue, I think the last 4 had like one action scene at least. So that I really did enjoy that. And the artist John Davis Hunt is fantastic. It looks great. But I think Warren Ellis does get kind of lost in like, let me explore this for like 4 issues. And it's like, okay, well.
Well, that was the problem with not injection. You got the start of a great story, but then he moves on to other things. He tries to do the Hickman of laying the groundwork, but you still have to stay grounded.
He never goes back and
to mention it again
right,
until you're 80 issues away, and you're like, okay, I don't remember how we
this
even got
thing.
to this.
Oh, you mean from issue 1? That was like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
No.
So there are things that I like this book. I think it's got the right idea, but I miss those core characters. And if this second half is meant to be the Authority run to give you that branch off, okay, I understand that, but I still need to see the Wildcat part.
I think it's losing some steam a little bit because, it was before, Wildstorm was coming out. They're going to have all these miniseries. Now, the only one we've had is Wildstorm and Michael Cray.
Yeah, I know. They said like every 12, they were going to, Michael Cray was supposed to be like, there's supposed to be like 2 or 3 during this time, and like we're almost done. And Michael Cray, what issues do Michael Cray on?
We got 2 left.
Two left.
10 just came out.
And then, but I guess Wildstorm's taking a break. But like, is there another major series coming? Like Cash is supposed to get one. And I don't know if he's going to get one now because, like, is it going to end before then? Might as well just wait till it's over and then give him a series. Like, have a Wildcat series. I'm not sure exactly what they're doing. I do, like I was saying before, I think Warren Ellis gets a little lost in things. I know I read this interview with him once. I forget which book it is, but like he did like all this research and like mapped out like 100 years of like this like ships, and like he was like mapped out 100 years of history for this book. And then he was like, I just realized that I could never put this in the comic book. Like, I just wasted all my time doing this. But I feel like every once in a while he's like, let me put that in. I did that already. So, but it's not like Mark Miller did Jupiter's Legacy, and he's like, Jupiter's Circle, that might be a good story. Or it's not even like
Greg Rucka when you put out that source book.
Yeah.
But that's what I think when I read these kind of books, and I expect you've got 50 characters you can choose from, and you choose 6 or 7, you really focus on them. But then you can still put out that book of Jupiter's Circle, or you can put out the source book going, hey, here's this place where someone lives. Here's, the 87 paragraphs I have about that thing. So you're still getting that side story. You're still getting that thing to build your world even bigger.
I still like this. It's not a book that I can read and be like, all right, I'm going to get through this thing and it's going to be good. I definitely have to be awake and be like, pay attention to each piece of dialogue. And that works for some people if that's what they want. I know, I enjoy that with like Hickman, but for some reason Hickman seems a little bit more entertaining when he does that kind of thing. But this one just, it's really technical. He doesn't make any excuses and like try to explain it to you. It's very technical. It's very like realistic. And then eventually stuff happens and we're like, okay, I know what's going on now. And it's not never, at least for me, it's never not enjoyable. Is that double negative? I still enjoy myself while I read it, but also I can see where you guys are coming from and be like, okay, well, like it's not super exciting. It's not like I'm like, oh, get this book. I'm like, oh, it's good.
It just seems a change of pace when we had the first 12 issues rolled so nicely. And then we're getting into this still same story, at least with IO and Skywatch, but we're getting a change of characters on Earth. And it's like, okay, I'm not missing something, but I need to change my focus on, we're not getting back into I'm going to call them the Wildcats team. We're going to stay into this authority thing. We're going to stay into this more political range of, okay, I want to be the engineer and I want to help you guys out, but there's more to fighting these guys than me being in my suit. I need to be more tactical, which is great. I don't know. I went into this book expecting it to be Wildcats-esque. It hasn't delivered in the last 4 issues.
The Wildcats were in 1 issue recently when IO came in and killed some. I mean, it wasn't Cash and all of them, but that's still Wildcats.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still in this book and they talk about them. But definitely like Grifter and all them aren't around and they must be in hiding or something like that. But like you said, I think there's so many threads going on here that it feels weird that this is 24 issues. And maybe that's what happened. Maybe all these minis that were supposed to be coming out are like being roped into the main story now. Like they fill you in. And I just feel like there's so many plot points that it's hard to keep track of them a little bit. And you kind of need to slow down. And I think I had the benefit of trying to catch up to these issues, and that's how I knew what was going on.
Yeah.
But I feel like you, if I read month to month, I'd be like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, this definitely doesn't read really that great monthly. I think it's written for trade.
This is trade.
100%.
Which is a weird thing for us to say, because in the past we've said it picks up from the last issue straight up. It still does, but it's hard to remember from month to month now what we're reading, where in the past it was you went from an action scene, you opened up at the action scene, and it just brought you right in. Now it's kind of like, I jabbered for a little bit, and I'm still going to jabber when you get back in the book, and then I'm going to shoot somebody, and then I'm going to jabber some more, and like, oh, well, I need a little bit more action.
That scene was pretty cool, though. It wasn't this issue, I don't think, when IO came and attacked the Wildcats, and what's her name did that flip over that guy? And
Zealot? Is it the red, the girl with the white hair?
No. It might have been Jenny. I think she did it. Somebody did. I don't know who it is.
Somebody.
There's so many characters in this book, too, I can't keep track.
I'm missing my favorite word from this series, and that's explodey.
This was an 8 for me.
I'd give it an 8.
I'm going to stick with a 7. I think the art propelled it quite a bit. I mean, the story was good, and I understand more what's going on. But I think if it wasn't for the art being as great as it was this issue and leading the story, which I get, you know, Warren Ellis writes a script and then the artist matches that script. But yeah, I don't know. I think this should be called Wildstorm Presents, because I think there needs to be a new press release being like, hey, this is our plan for Wildstorm. We're on year 2 of this, and what the fuck's going on? Like, I don't know what their goal is trying to accomplish in the series anymore. Like, if it's only going to be 24 issues, then why isn't there all these other series out? It should almost be ongoing past 24 if this is going to be your main universe thing.
I wonder if they're even going to launch a new universe out of these books anymore, because if we have, 8 issues left, you think it would have been announced by now.
Yeah, exactly.
Or they would at least said something about it. And now it's going on a break for the last 4, right? No, 6. After 18, it's going to go on a break for a little bit.
Yeah.
And is that to make sure that all those announcements are in place? I guess I don't know what's going on with this anymore. But just for this book, if we're just reviewing this book, it's good. Garrett?
First half, great, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. 12 up through 12 is good.
Yeah.
And maybe when you go back and read the whole thing, maybe it's great too.
Right.
And trade.
Which we'll probably end up doing before we read the startup in 2019.
We'll have plenty of time. So.
They're on Hoopla, so you can read it. So.
Yeah. All right, next we got Coyotes, number 5, written by Sean Lewis with art by Caitlin Yarsky. Issue 5, man, I missed this book.
Yeah.
So good. I mean, right out the get-go, it opens up with the Abuela in red hanging on the train that we saw in the last issue. Basically, their mission has turned into just finding coyotes and murdering them, getting them off the face of the earth. So they're basically, it's kind of like Supernatural in a way. They're just wiping
hunting
out
things and saving people.
Yep, basically. And so the Abuela does tell Red a story because Red is very interested, because finally she has gone through so much and she's finally right in front of one of the Abuelas and getting really close with her, and is like, can you please just tell me what happened to my sister, or what's going on with everything? I don't understand all of this. And then the Abuela does a bedtime story basically explaining the history of how the werewolves and the Abuelas fighting came to be, which I still don't understand the whole, I don't know why they have to be grandmas and grandpas fighting werewolves.
Well, the way I read it, it's only grannies.
Yeah, it's only grannies.
And so Red asks, going, why don't you just kill these wolves? And Granny goes, or the Abuela goes, you don't kill them. We're each other to balance. They need to exist.
It's like the Jedi and the Sith.
And we need to exist.
Right.
We can't. They want to kill us, but we choose not to kill them.
Right. We just keep them at bay. We save people from them. Caitlin Yarsky's art, the story. Wow. The way that she can tell a story out of smoke, basically the Abuela smoking.
Her
and out of it.
giant-ass stogie.
Oh, and the backstory, the mythology, I can totally understand. They walk you through it, and then it's like, wow, that's something I've never seen before. Using famous names like Fenrir and some other famous werewolf names.
Fenrir is Loki's son,
right,
from Norse mythology.
Yeah.
So I agree, but they're actually using things that I could not relate to. I obviously don't have a werewolf, and I don't have a son who's a werewolf. But when there's, I think it's 4 werewolves, so north, south, east, and west type. Yep. That's how it felt, at least. God, you know what? I missed this book. I'm glad that they brought it back from their 4-issue mini run.
I was worried when it came back. That I was like, this probably won't be as good. Read it? Nope.
No,
it's not even better.
I actually thought this was better because now we're past the first arc. We've been introduced to
the universe.
What's the werewolf's name? Seth.
Yep.
This one. So, probably one of the hardest things I've read, at least in the last couple weeks. I'm going to jump to the end. There's the little epilogue of Seth, I believe, is hiding in a cave.
Well, it's him right after the last arc. He escaped from the laboratory where they were making coyotes off him.
Yeah.
Coyotes.
No, you're fine. Experimenting on him and taking his flesh.
And he's like, all right, it's time to make my own kingdom now because, I've been chained, I've been locked away, now I got to start anew. And he does find a cave, goes in there, and he gets the living shit
beat out of him, or eaten out of him, or whatever it was.
By other werewolves.
And so the other 3, I believe the other 3 big majors showed up and go, you failed us. You need to be punished.
Right.
And so that final page is just him, with his eye kind of closing up because he got beat up. I was like, I feel so bad. I feel bad for this werewolf when he's not trying to be a bad guy.
Right.
Or a bad dog.
Right. He was just trying to keep his species alive.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's kind of terrifying. That's kind of like, when there's an origin of a creature and the actual creatures that created that species like show up and is like, what the fuck did you do to my line? Like, we've made this how it's supposed to be and you guys are screwing it up. And
and that's what they were mad at him for, right? How could you create these things? Like, I didn't create them. I was forced to do this.
Right. And so they're disappointed because they want werewolves. They don't want these coyotes.
Yeah.
They don't want these abnormalities, basically. So that's gonna be kind of cool. Like, especially if we get to maybe just werewolf breeding instead of coyote. I mean, that would change the name, but and I do love in this book where they change the text to this like scratchy giant text that makes them just seem terrifying. I love that. I'm like, that is such a good style to instill fear in people reading this book. It's just very well done.
I didn't miss this book when it came out, and I was like, 4 issues in, I'll be so satisfied when it's done. I was so impressed with this issue, that it really made me excited for the next one. And I think a part is that I like animals in books, so to find out these other 3 are going to come into it, and I assume be a fairly big part of it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And there's a part of me that I hope Seth decides, okay, I got to fuck my brothers over because they are horrible to me.
Well, I think because the abuela showed him mercy in issue 4, he's going to be kind of like a Loki, basically.
So when the wolves come to fight, come and get the abuelas and Red, he's going to show up going, I'm on your team. I'm sorry that my brothers are being a dick, but let's kill them together.
Right.
And we'll see a Dylan, you son of a bitch, and this high five. Anyway.
Well, and then also another part of the story, we see Red and Abuela. They get, again, they're hunting coyotes, and they come upon this
civilization, a little like underground town almost.
Right. And basically, coyotes that are in their human form are being captured and brought before a tribunal, basically, being like, what did you do wrong? And if they don't admit what they've done wrong, I mean, basically, they just like punish them.
Yeah.
And there was one point where it was the one that killed Red's sister, Maria. And he says, I killed a girl named Maria. And Red just loses. She jumps and she's about to kill him. And then the other girl like stops her. And she's like, we don't do that here. We don't kill the coyotes. And Red's like, are you fucking stupid? Why not? And she's explaining how they're trying to rehabilitate basically the coyotes.
I think that's the part that maybe makes this issue better, is that it's not just black and white now. It's not just killing these monsters. They're literally kind of like in Supernatural, the TV show. It's not being you kill everything that's a monster. Not all monsters are evil. Right. These people are at least being like, I did this horrible thing. I feel guilt. I don't know if they actually necessarily feel guilty, but they're so afraid to be, I'm going to say, castrated or killed that I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, and I assume what is correct. I assume they're being honest. Be like, this is what you want to know. This is what I did. I'm sorry. And here's your pink. And then they're given a red or a pink shirt. I don't know. Does that keep them from turning, or is that just their red flag or their prison suit going, I'm a bad guy? This is their red letter.
I bet you, because it seems like these are witches almost. I bet you there's some kind of like.
So it seems like a coven.
What harms werewolves? What's the
silver?
No, not silver. There's a certain flower. Like mountain ash. I bet there's something like that, like interwoven into.
Well, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, there's some kind of
keep them
from transforming.
That's cool.
So yeah, I really missed this book. I give it a 10. I read it thinking, again, I told you, went in thinking, I don't know if this is gonna be as good as Volume 1. Read it, holy shit, that was so good.
I don't think I can give this issue a 9 and be okay with myself. I'd probably have to confess my guilt. I would give this a 10. This really was a great issue to read and a great way to get back into the book.
Yeah, I'm so excited for issue 6 now.
Who's the writer?
Sean Lewis.
Okay. Not sure.
I've never heard of him until I read this book.
I was just curious because I thought, for some reason in my head, no, that was Moonshine. That was
Brian Israel.
Brian Israel, that's right. Coyotes number 5. That is a book I need to pick up the first volume, you say?
I bet it's out.
I think I
would recommend it.
And say, to be fair, Marvin, it's hard for me to gauge whether or not you're going to like this book, because I do think first arc, it's good. But I think second arc, much like X2, X-Men United, has the possibility to be an amazing arc, to really draw you into this world.
Yeah. There we go.
It's on there. Perfect.
First 4 issues. Magic Order number 3.
Yes.
This is Mark Miller and Olivia Coppel. is the third of six, the 6-issue miniseries, the first of many to come from the Netflix brand of comics. It says Netflix on it, right? Like
Yes,
they do the
on
whole.
the
It's,
back.
even though it's Image, it's like Netflix produced, right?
Yep.
So I'm reading this issue, right? I liked it. It's good. I like the three of them. They were good. The second issue, actually, I like better. But I do find it interesting. This book is so cinematic. Like
It is.
It feels like you're watching a show when you read this book. And it might be Coppell's art. It might be Mark Miller. There's two things in here that I didn't like by Miller. And I was like, all right, come on, guy. But the rest of it, I was like, this is a really cinematic thing. And like, I can see them if Netflix was like, yeah, it's going to be a TV show. I go, no shit. This basically probably was your like concept art and your
Yeah, your
script.
pitch.
This is the script for the first 6
It
episodes.
so it feels like a TV show. So, I actually did really like the end of this issue.
You're a
It was
monster.
brutal. Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Holy.
I didn't expect that.
That
but
was hard. It was hard
That
to look at.
Venetian is terrifying.
Yes.
If he was in front of me, I'd run as fast as I could in the other direction.
Why, the thing I like about it is
That wouldn't help you.
You're right.
He'd be right behind you.
Yeah, you would just take my legs off.
even though this character, the father, what's his name?
I don't know. Old man magic.
Moonstone, not Gabriel, but
But it's Moonstone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Father
Papa Moonstone.
Papa Moonstone. Even though
Papa
like
Moon.
they've said like he's not the greatest father and stuff like that, he was always focused on other things, and he had mistresses, and that made his wife leave him and all this stuff. At the end of the day, when it came down to it, when he says, "I know I'm not going to kill you, but maybe I can make you weaker. One of my sons or one of my children will kill you," and I thought that was like a great moment, being like he knew at that time. It's kind of like Obi-Wan was like, I know I'm not going to kill you, but I'm going to make it so that they're going to be stronger against you.
right.
And fantastic. That part of it is very cinematic, very like showdown. I'm like, okay, I'm ready for this. But then he gets like killed like this, blood all over the place.
Obliterated.
Honestly, but it didn't even seem like it's a kind, quick kill, not like in Harry Potter where it's Avada Kedavra and you're dead. This was, I'm going to punish you, and every little bit of you, I'm just sucking skin right off you.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like.
Severed limbs, yeah, skin peeling.
Yeah, the first
guts
shot was like his
out.
arm came off and he just was like bleeding to death. And they just like kept cutting stuff off and like making it bleed. God.
Literally, the last page is him as a husk.
Yeah.
So there's a big
That's it.
blood on the ground, and there's goo in the middle, with the Venetian just going, "Look what I did."
But in the middle of that, we get the father, Papa
Yeah.
Moon, with Gabrielle, who is the one that has turned his back on this family.
And we see why. He
Yeah.
turns back on magic because it killed his daughter. She found his wand and she died somehow from it. And now he's like, well, I got to protect my family. And the only way to protect my family is not to be involved in this magic stuff anymore.
And his wife has gone crazy to an extent. She's so upset by what had happened that she's just, she's not even the woman she used to be. The love and the joy is sucked out of her.
She has gray hair too. Like she looks like she's really old.
Me.
But I mean, like she went through a traumatic thing and like she lost all, like you said, it was sucked out of her, all the fun in her life. And this issue definitely, like, I like the second issue a lot because it caught us up with that one character that could escape. But this issue kind of was more plot driven. And I do like where the plot's going, except I don't like this villain at all, really. The Madam Albany.
Okay.
I feel like
I like you
She's
don't.
kind of corny. She's like
kinda
Rita
cliche.
from Mighty Morphin.
it's kind of like, yeah, no shit. They're making her so, there's no gray to her. It's all like black and white. It's all like of course she's evil. There's no like, oh, maybe she says, she even tries to make herself kind of, make that gray area, being like, they told me I could never be trusted. And that's why I'm doing all this. But I've never seen any instance in like that you could be trusted. So like, I think that part's supposed to make you feel for her, be like, oh, she's getting revenge and like justified in some way. And I'm like, no, like, she enjoys seeing him get killed. There's a part later, which this is the part I didn't like. I just felt it was unnecessary. There's a part where she's just like, hey, can you turn yourself into something I can fuck? And then
Yeah,
and it's like, for what's like a random
it's
She
sex,
has an
herself.
orgy with herself.
it's like a random sex scene for what? That's the part where I was like, come on, really? Like,
You got to make that Netflix material X, man.
I think that's the thing is that it you're right. It seemed forced where the shifter could have turned into God, could have turned into anybody else.
well, I think it
But
was
the only
just-
thing that she thinks is
Yeah.
worth her time is herself.
well, I think that was another thing that was like cliche. It's like, look how evil she is. She's gonna look at she's creepy and dark, and it's like, okay. I just don't like that character at all.
I think the
I like the other guy.
Venetian,
Yeah, I like him.
plays a way better villain. I mean, yes, he is being led by Albany, but I would like to see the twist where he eventually, like, he kills all these magicians and then turns on her, and he's the actual villain.
Going back to the Stars references, he almost seems like Darth Vader, and she's Emperor Palpatine.
Oh, I was thinking Lethal Weapon. I was thinking she's the general, and that's Mr. Joshua.
Oh,
so we're just waiting. I'm just waiting for.
Now your reference sucks, Al. Just kidding.
What? I want Gabriel's going to be putting the Venetian in a headlock, and you're going to hear the other brother go, break his fucking neck.
Coppell's art's great, though.
That is some of the best art.
The coloring, too. Who does the coloring for the book? I think he does the coloring himself. I just looked it up, actually.
What book was he doing for DC Comics for a while? Oliver Coipel.
Well,
he was doing Thor for half a second.
He was doing the Unworthy Thor.
Yeah,
I don't know about
only
DC.
could do the first 2 issues
There was
of
something
it.
I was reading that he did DC. Can't remember.
He did Thor back in the day, too, when JMS was on, and he did a couple issues of that, too. So, I don't know. He's been around for half a second, right? He's not like he's a guy people know, but he's not like a legend. I think he actually did some Secure Empire, didn't he? I think he did one of those one issues that
he might have.
Sorrentino didn't do. But he's great in this book. He's the perfect person for this book. He's very cinematic kind of look. The coloring he uses, it's kind of muted. And when it needs to be colorful, like more magical stuff is more colorful. And then the real world's kind of muted. I like how that looks.
Kind of reminds you like Black Magic, how they did that.
And then at the end, the red of the blood, that page is enough red for me to be like, holy shit, when you see it. Yep. And the way it's shown is just...
It's grotesque.
Yeah, it's grotesque, and it really looks great. But then again, like I said, there's some Mark Miller stuff that I'm like, hey, hold it back a little bit. Maybe make that character more interesting. And that's the only part of it I can't get into. The rest of it I like, though. I like the characters, the good guy characters that are all good.
I think it'd be a part of it if they actually showed her. I realize she's the boss and she's the one telling the Venetian to go do things. But if she literally stepped into the ring as like, I will kick your ass, and then she get shown, maybe she's the one who stabbed that first magician in the first issue. It's like, okay, you are a monster, but you've sent an even meaner monster to do your dirty work. I get that. But you're right. There's nothing that makes me go, you're the boss. You're just the one who wears the dumbest outfit.
And does anyone else see her mask and think of the motherfucker from Kick-Ass?
Yes, there you go. I was like, you look familiar. So maybe that's where she went.
Was it this issue or last issue? The guy was wearing a Kick-Ass shirt.
It was last issue with the soul camera.
And that soul camera is fucking terrifying.
That is scary.
Just take a picture and it steals your soul, and then they crushed it up. Oh, God, it's so scary.
Yeah.
That's the thing, too. Like, there's that issue. Wasn't this issue or last one? I remember both back to back. Where he turns the guy to wax.
This one.
And he smashes him, and he's like, it's okay, she'll bring me back anyways once she gets that book. And they smash him up. That was great, too. There's great scenes in this book. And definitely great characters, except every once in a while, it's just like, for what? Like,
the death scenes of not important characters are the best. Like the first issue, the first issue where it's the changing room that just killed him. Then you're right, the pitcher crushed it. Then this one, we turned you into a candle and watched you melt.
Smashed your face in.
It's definitely a good series. I enjoyed so far. It's just that villain. I'm like, it could have been somebody that has more layers to them that just...
I think you can tell this is totally being made for TV.
It has to be.
It's going.
There's no way Netflix doesn't make this show.
Yeah, they're going to. 100%.
Like, when I was reading this issue, I was like, it has to be. Like it
this
feels
is such TV plot.
It's still in the pacing feels TV. Like they cut to one character, they do a scene. Cut to the next character, they do a scene. That's TV.
Right.
Like it feels so TV. But Coppell's art's great, and Mark Miller, when he does like those scenes with the father in the back seat and they're just talking, that's great, and that's what he's good at. The old Mark Miller, which is like that sex scene, is just like, come on, guy, like don't go back to that. We know you. I know you want to like go back to your Kick-Ass days, but you're better in your Starlight days. Let's go back to that.
So that's the thing. Starlight, great. Huck, I thought was great. A little weak on the ending, but great. Jupiter's Legacy, amazing.
Yeah, Circle, great.
Circle, great. So there's things that I know he writes well. You're right. That sex scene just seemed to have nudity for nudity's sake.
Yeah, it was like in the Kick-Ass days when he's like, oh, let's just be like crazy for being crazy. And that's what that character seems like. And I think that's why I don't like her. She seems like, and like you said it perfectly, like it seems like a character from Kick-Ass. And it's like, that's what I'm almost like, come on, that person seems out of place in this whole thing.
Yep.
I want to say 8.
Yeah, I'm
strong
go
8.
You know, I'm going to give this one a 9. The Venetian fixed enough this book.
I'm almost there. I'm like
where I'm just like, if I was to be a crime boss, Venetian would be my second in command, or at least my hired gun. He'd be my death.
The cover also, I don't like the cover. Like
it's
just like shocking to be like, oh, what's this? It's like, nah, come on, guy.
Yeah.
Like
almost made me feel weird to read it, just in case my wife came down. What are you reading?
I don't know.
Why is there 6 naked girls?
That scene is never in the book. There's only that one sex scene that's unnecessary. That's why that cover feels unnecessary.
Yeah.
And it's the old Mark Miller. That's the only reason I can't give it a 9. But
that makes that villain more
8.8.
2D, just because it's like obviously you love yourself. Like
yeah, I know that's what I mean. It's all on the nose, being like, hey, this person's evil. They surely likes herself.
Right.
She's self-absorbed. And it's like, shit.
You're right. I do hope the Venetian comes back, and I don't want him to be ever good. I want him to be a badass motherfucker. But I really do want him to go, okay, I killed everybody else. You gotta die, and then we get to see.
Do you
Gabriel
think he throws her into over a bridge into, and she flies down like Star Wars? Okay, Alex, what else?
I'm gonna speak for everybody. I think this is my pick of the week. Batman issue 53. I think you're Tom King and Lee Weeks on art. Literally, I shit you not, the best arc of Batman from Tom King's run, and probably in the past at least 7 years, best Batman run I've read.
I thought that maybe this arc would be underappreciated, and because after 50, people might have been like, I don't want to read Batman anymore.
50 wasn't that good.
I'm thinking back, I'm liking it less and less, but I still enjoyed it. I know you guys did, but actually, Alex gave it 10 out of 10.
That was my week.
But I thought it'd go underappreciated. It is like a total change and kind of more of a character study about Bruce and him being Batman than anything else. But I've been seeing a lot of articles and great. I do. What's the word I'm looking for? I like seeing these articles because they're pointing out how great this arc is. I've been seeing, like, New York Times, I think I saw an article that was like, this is the best Batman that's been written forever.
Spoilers.
Yeah, they almost spoiled it too. But it's fantastic. And when you learn at the end that Bruce, like, he knew he fucked up, so he bribed somebody to be on that jury because he knew he needed to be there in the room to be like, no, Freeze is innocent. Like, I messed up as Batman. Let me make it right as Bruce Wayne. That was a great way to end this thing. Be like, man, like, he understood. Like, that's where Bruce is right now. He knew he was fucked up after Catwoman left him. He's messed up. He doesn't believe in the Batman anymore. And that scene when he talks about that, like, I made this bat so to make sure this never happened to anybody ever again. Like, I hid behind this guy and I believed in him so much. He makes sure, like, he saved me from thinking about my family. And every single time I would always feel like that kind of anxiety coming in, and like that, what he felt in that alley, he would become the bat and be like, no, I'm going to go out. That was his therapy. And he thought that's what was making him better. And then he realizes now, like, Batman is not God. And I can't put all my faith in that persona and think that's going to solve all my problems. That's not. He's still Bruce Wayne. He's still a person. And when I get angry, Batman makes mistakes. When I have a bad day, I might take it out on the villains a little bit more. And, like, I'm still fallible. And for me to come in this room and look what I've done. Like, this whole city thinks this guy can't do any wrong. That Batman is always right. When Batman is just me. Batman is me in this room, and that's what I'm trying to tell you. Batman is just a person, and he's not God, and you have to stop thinking of him in that way. And we can't always, like, assume that he knows what's right, and just because he arrested Friesen that he did it when the evidence shows that he did not.
Right.
Like, you can't just say, well, Batman says it's right. And God, that was such a great scene. I love that scene.
Yeah, that is nice that Bruce just kind of knows that duality of himself, like, that he can even see, like, yes, he does live by that one rule, or he has his own motivations, but he knows that if once he gets a second to actually think about it, he can go back and be like, okay, maybe that was fucking too much. Like, maybe I should have backed off a bit. And the character study in this issue alone, I mean, this whole arc has been so incredible, and I think everyone in this room learned a little bit more about Bruce Wayne. I'm just saying us three.
Yes.
And other people
I know what you meant, but then in my brain, you're like, all these people in this room. I thought, there's only fucking three of us.
Well, I got to say different shit than you guys say, don't I? But I think we just learned something more about his personality that is definitely new and unlike any Bruce Wayne we've seen before. And we haven't seen Bruce Wayne this much throughout this, I would say throughout his run as much. I mean, yes, Bruce Wayne is Batman, but I mean, seeing Bruce Wayne being Bruce Wayne, this is the most we've seen since Rebirth started.
We've seen Bruce as Batman in the leading up to the wedding, and then you get kind of sucked back into actually issue 50. He doesn't seem as much Bruce. He really does seem as a Batman. Even when he's in the Bruce persona, he just kind of stands there looking gloomy. And then you get to this next arc, and I will admit I was a little weary that Tom King was gonna, I don't know what the right term is. Like, I wanted him to go berserk, and I got it in that first issue. We find out he beat the living piss out of Mr. Freeze, and I think Bruce. What?
I didn't say anything.
I saw that big.
The fan.
Oh, that is nice. It is a nice, cool refreshment. I think for me, I needed to see Bruce have that excitement of, I'm going to get married. He gets shit on. And it only took that one time for him to realize, holy shit, I'm a monster.
But even that Bruce, like, before 50, when we saw him, it's just Bruce, like, when they were at that fair, where he would go when he was with Clark. Like that Bruce was kind of stuck up and kind of confident, like really confident in who he was and confident as a Batman. Even when he was Bruce Wayne, he was still Batman.
Yep.
And in this issue, he's so vulnerable. He's so lost and just a person. Like it seems like a different person.
Well, yeah, and you're right. He sees his failure as the Batman, going, "Wow, you know what? Sometimes death is almost better than beating the piss out of somebody near the brink of death. Maybe I do need to take a step back." So you finally get that. Can I just say the spoiler if he decides to tell Alfred, bring out the number 1 or whatever it was that he calls it?
Bring me the original suit.
Is the OG?
The OG.
So
Even though it's not the OG.
Bring me the OG
Well,
with the purple
Nobody wants
gloves.
to see that OG suit.
Come on.
And
Well,
that-
that's basically what this new one is anyways, is
So
play off that.
so we get the new suit at the end of this issue, and like, okay,
Got the trunks back.
we're gonna get into
Yeah,
the Cape
everyone's getting
Crusader
that underwear
unless of
back.
the Dark Knight.
MeUndies.
You know what it was. So in issue 50, remember when he's getting married to Catwoman, he wanted to be in the Batman suit, and he's like, "We're gonna get married as Batman and Catwoman," and so like it shows you that he so much believed in that person, and like that's who he was. It was never Bruce Wayne was always the character that he played, and Batman was truly who he was. He thought that he was getting married as Batman, and Batman was marrying Catwoman. It wasn't Bruce Wayne is marrying Selena Kyle, and now after this, he's realizing like how much he lost himself in that person. Is it healthy? Is it really something that he can rely on? And I think he's finding out no. And I think you're going to either this new original Batman is going to be a guy who is going to be more aggressive, or is he going to be more fun? I'm not sure. Like which way is he going to go? Like what he's trying to figure out still. What does Batman mean now? And that's what that's what the rest of it's going to be, is who is Batman? Because I thought I knew who he was and I didn't know. Like I thought I knew who he was, and I thought this guy was like, as we talked about a million times, like there's a God Batman kind of persona, and that's who he thought he was. Like he thought he couldn't do any wrong. Yes, I know what's right. And you see it in Detective too. Like he's like, I know I'm better than you guys. I know what's right. Like I know what we should be doing. And he's always that guy who's always one step ahead. Like he cannot be wrong. And he realizes that is not true. That's not who this guy is. And there's great little moments in this issue that Tom King put in, and when you read them, it's quick. You can go past it if you don't notice it, but if you take your time and you look at it, there are little moments like when he's doing that speech, he walks over to the water machine, gets water, takes a sip, and goes back. Just a little moment to show you that this guy is human. Like he gets thirst, like he's doing the speech. Obviously, he's going to get a little parched. He's going to go over and get water. It's a great little moment for Tom King to put in. That's not like blatant. It's not like, oh, I need some water. He never says that. He just walks over while he's talking, gets a glass of water. And in that moment, I was like, in my head, I was like, oh yeah, I guess if you're having a little speech or like talking to people, you're gonna need some water. But it makes him more human. And in that moment, like those great little things that Tom King does, especially with this character, that kind of it's been doing since issue 1. It's kind of been removing the idea that this person is, Batman. What does he say in Batman Beyond? You need to create a character that drives fear into these people because they believe in fairy tales, right? They believe in this kind of mysterious kind of thing. And he kind of fell into that himself. He thought he was this like infallible, fairy tale monster that was going to do what's right and scare these people into submission and like put them into jail, like to get rid of all this crime. And Tom King throughout these 53 issues has been cutting away that he's saying, no, like that one issue, I Am Suicide, when he was a kid and he tried to commit suicide. It's like, no, this person is not infallible. He's a human being. And now we're to a point where Bruce Wayne realizes that. And I think it's fantastic. And I think going on to issue 100, because Tom King said he's going to out for it's a 100 issue arc, basically, he said. I think I know like this, the rest of this is going to like redefining who this character is, Batman, and Bruce Wayne coming to in healthier terms of like dealing with his family's death, dealing with the but the heartbreak of losing Selena and Kyle, and finding himself again and figuring out like, what does it mean to be Batman? And am I okay being that person again?
My only concern is, so for choosing to be, I'm going to say a nicer Batman, maybe not, maybe he's going to even be more of a dick than normal with this new suit. At some point in time, a certain big douchey guy from Santa Prisca is going to come up and want to break him in half
That
again.
guy's still around, yeah.
And that team, whatever team he's assembled with Psycho Pirate and Gotham Girl, are going to come up looking to pick a fight with Batman and Bruce. Does he end up going, and this is just me theorizing, will he end up going back to the Dark Knight and be that ferocious fear in the dark? Or is he going to stay, I'm going to call it the Cape Crusader, as the nicer version, and come up with a more tactical and polite, not polite's not the right word, but a less I'm going to break you Bane.
I think it's just he's just focused on the fact that he shouldn't lose himself in Batman. He shouldn't.
He still needs to be.
He
human.
shouldn't carry himself to be what Marvin's saying, like this god Batman. He needs to, like with taking out Mr. Freeze. There was a million other ways he could have done that. That wouldn't have hurt Mr. Freeze as bad as he did. That wouldn't have made Bruce feel sick inside. Like there's very tactical way. I mean, Batman has always been a tactician. He's been someone that. Like he assesses the situation before going into it. Yes, he can get hot-headed, and I don't think you're going to lose that. I think this is a refocus. I think this is Bruce being like, I can't do it that way anymore. I have to do it a new way. Not saying he's going to be weaker just because he's letting some emotion in. It's just more he's going to drive that emotion to make the right decisions. It's like, why couldn't, if I could punch you once to knock you out, or I could punch you in the face 12 times and then you can't see again? Yeah. What's the better alternative?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So he's going to fight smarter, not overdo it.
Right.
Okay. I'd say, well, I guess my thought was, I'm thinking, okay, Bane's not going to be a one punch kind of guy unless he cheats and punches him in the crotch.
Right.
Or breaks it, runs him over with a car.
Well, you thinking those toxin balls won't take that?
I think Bruce is also realizing, if you look, Alex is wearing a t-shirt today that says the many moods of Batman. Like that's who he sees as Batman. Like it's all the same mood. It's all the angry kind of Batman, and maybe that's not healthy. Maybe I think that's what he's realizing. Maybe you don't need to be like Superman is as effective, and I think that's what those issues were showing. He loves his wife and he loves his family. He's having fun with stuff, and he's still a happy guy, and he still is as effective as Batman. So maybe it's not okay just to be the angry Batman anymore. Maybe you need to be a little Cape Crusader who's the world's greatest detective, and you, at the end of the day, can hang up your hat and be like, okay, I'm going to go home.
Well, I'm Batman. I don't wear a hat. I wear a cowl.
Oh, if I can see Batman smile, like when Dick Grayson was Batman and you saw him smile.
I guarantee you, on this show, I made the claim that the last arc is going to be called I Am Bruce Wayne, because the first one was I Am Gotham, I Am Suicide, and I Am Bane, right? Yep. And it keeps doing that. And then I think the last ones are going to be I Am Bruce Batman Wayne. And I Am Bruce Wayne. I guarantee you the last panel we get from Tom King is him as Batman smiling, like swinging away.
Yeah.
Like he's like, I'm okay now.
I'm Spider-Man.
But then again, like we talked about last week, next person will reset him and he'll be back into the same place.
I think unfortunately we're going to get 100 issues of Tom King's Batman. And I fear for anybody to write Batman after, that's going to be, I realize you end up writing the character for yourself. But that's going to be a hard run. If Tom King could nail the 100 issue run, I think Tom King would have this Batman in the bag. You do whatever the hell you want with this character. He is yours.
Guys, we got 2 to 3 years before we get there. Let's not count our chickens before they hatch.
This is a 10 for me.
Yeah, 10, 100%.
Pretty sure Alex says 10 right?
10.
Someone else in the Bat family. We got Batgirl number 25, and holy shit, lots of writers. So we got written by Margaret Bennett, I can't ever say the name, Margaret Scott, it's Margaret.
I think it's Margaret.
Margaret Scott, Paul Dini, and then art by Dan Panosian, Paul Pilliter, Emmanuel Lupacino, Tom Derenick, Sean Parsons, Norm Rapund, and Ray McCarthy. So this issue,
none of the regular team.
Yeah, none of the regular team. Well, Margaret Scott is taking over the book, and that artist that she's teaming up with.
Because Hope Larson was writing the book originally.
Yep, okay. And Margaret Bennett took over for a bit. So this is like an annual, I would say. It's not really, I wouldn't call, it is an issue, but I don't think it doesn't play the normal tropes of an issue. It does play it more like an annual. Yeah. So we get 4 stories in this. First story is by Margaret Scott, and it has to do a lot with the Bat Wedding. When the Joker murders an African-American man and his wife.
At their
wedding, when he doesn't get invited to Batman's wedding. A lot of that after effect takes place in this book, where Batgirl finds her place at the funeral, not realizing who's it for, and it turns out it's the mom grieving over her son and son's wife. That's their funeral. And she comes up there because originally Batgirl had saved Dwayne, was his name, 8 months prior. And Batgirl went there to pay her respects, and she said, hey, maybe it wasn't a good idea for me to come here. And the mom was like, no, I really appreciate you coming. Like, you gave him 8 more months. You got him 8 more months to be my son, 8 more months to be alive, 8 more months that
for him to spend with his fiance.
Right.
And that was the thing, is that Barbara goes, I saved him just for him to die. Yeah, but you gave him more life by saving him from Scarecrow.
Right.
And so, and that's actually how she met him to begin with, is that she goes to a school where Scarecrow has attacked and sent out the gas. And she gets to the room, and he had already blocked things off, and he takes a swing at her with a pipe, and she goes, "Whoa, bro, I ain't fighting you." And she looks and goes, "Wow, everything's blocked off. He already shattered a window. They're, getting out safely." And to find out that all that work she did, all that work she had done, and all the work he had done was for naught when the Joker killed him. Well, Mom goes, "That's not your fault.
Right.
Don't blame yourself for something else that some monster did to him, but be appreciative. Or I'm appreciative to the life you did give him and the life you saved for him."
Right. Yeah, that was really special, and that gives me a lot of faith in Margaret Scott to taking over this book going forward. And there is another story she does in this annual anniversary issue, but the next one we get is Margaret Bennett, and it's about Barbara and Dick,
Grayson.
Yeah, right. So Batgirl is she's exhausted. I think it takes place right after this last part that we just read. I think they try to make it that way.
I believe it's pretty straightforward, because it's at the same time as Cold Days, because Dick Grayson's being Batman.
Yeah. Well, and the mom's like, "Hey, spend time with those that you love, because you never know when it's going to be the last day." Yeah. So going into that, then Batgirl's calls the one person that she would think about that she wants to spend time with, and that's Dick Grayson. She calls Dick and is like, "Hey, you got a shoulder I can lean on right now?" And Dick's like, "For you always." I'm like, God damn, you guys are meant to be together.
Yeah, I know. I think I'm at that point where it's you guys got to bring them back together.
I think they're working towards that.
And really, they have. And Nightwing, they're bringing them, they talk back and forth. They're always kind of flirting when they do chat. And in this one, they actually get a night together just to be together.
Right. And it was really good.
Watching crappy movies or whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
I was a little weary about this issue because it wasn't Batgirl, but it's kind of reading Batman. It's not Batman. It's Bruce. Right. It's this character that makes the super so good.
Right. So yeah, they got to console each other, and you could just feel that closeness, and that it's just they're thinking about what would be perfect. Dick's thinking about a paradise that he could spend with a girl that he loves, and Barbara just wants to watch old movies in bed kind of thing, and they do that. So, and they fall asleep to the sound of an ocean view, on the TV, and I was like, "Oh man, that's special. That's good." And I hope, someday, when's that wedding of Dick and Barbara going to happen? It's got to happen.
I hope, it'd be nice if in the next 4 years they're like, "You know what, we need to get Babs and Dick Grayson together, and don't let them be like, well, I don't want to be Batgirl anymore. I don't want to be Nightwing." You guys then you can be that dynamic duo. Not
Remember
only
when we read
home.
Convergence and they both teamed up together? That's perfect.
Yep. Do
it like that. Okay, on to the third part, which is actually the lead-in to Margaret Scott's new series. Basically, Barbara does this badass detective work to figure out that Grotesque killed a bunch. I can't remember that story. It's great just because the other two are really good.
So the Grotesque was from New 52, and he is kind of like what Muse is from Marvel. Kills people and then poses them for his own grotesque amusement.
Okay.
And I think after he kills this man and wife, kills them, leaves them in front of the fireplace, and writes his name Grotesque above the fireplace. Batgirl hears this revving of a motorcycle engine. She runs out the door, throws her batarang rope at him, pulls him off the bike, or at least pulls him back towards her. He spins around and headbutts her in the face. Well, at this point in time, she has put a bat tracker on the bike.
Right.
And it was, what the weird thing is, when a character gets punched in the face, it never occurs to me when a nose gets broken. And I forgot to look at this issue. Marvin would agree, and God Killer from Iron Man, those aliens never learned the perfect headbutt.
Yeah.
And so he breaks her nose, and she's got a little bit of blood running, and she looks and has this smirk on her face. I'm like, what the hell are you smiling at? You just got the shit kicked out of you a little bit. And it's that she put a tracker on. So later in the next coming issue, I believe it starts in 26, right?
Yep, it's a new run.
We're going to get the her hunting Grotesque.
I just want to say, though, in that part, I was so impressed by the detective skills that Barbara did to figure out, everything that had happened up to that point that Grotesque killed those people, that I'm like, yes, because like Batman, we're just starting to get some detective stuff. In Detective Comics, it's more of a team book, so we're not really getting detective work happening. But in this, like, I was like, hell yeah, give me more of that detective. Like, that's the Bat family should be known for, is detecting. Like, detective school, get that shit, find the killer, move on to the next case. So,
well, and the one thing that it's not necessarily a bad thing. I realize Rebirth is a chance for new readers to get on, and 26 is going to be a jumping on point for you. She tells you that I've got an eidetic memory. So once I've seen something or once, I've experienced something, it's always in my head.
Yeah.
And so that's a great thing for her being a detective. She sees things that have already gone through her head once before. She can remember going, okay, they're on this prescription or they're this drug. Hey, she left her shoes here. Like she didn't put them on before she got up. So something must have happened. You get to the doorway. Well, there's something else that had happened that the man goes out first. He wants to protect his wife. Well, it was really good. And it's nice to see Barbara being a detective and not just this college girl going, yay.
And, at the end, she's like, time to go back to Gotham. So Barbara's leaving Burnside, baby.
About time.
Yeah, I know. It's like, all right, where's Burnside? And then the fourth part I thought was the weakest, and it was Paul Dini's story about Jervis Tetch's girl. What was her? March Harriet?
Yes.
Yep. Which I think is a dumb name, first off.
But it's Alice Wonderland.
It is a character?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. And I don't know. It was so boring, so wordy. The art was good, but like to read that story, it made me so upset. I was just like, this is too much. And it was like 10 pages long too.
I think it was to show that it's kind of the thing about not all monsters are bad guys. Not all bad people are bad.
Yeah.
That the reason that March Harriet went to do this thing was that this rich man killed her girlfriend. And so I just did what I needed to do to get revenge on him. Then to find out that Barbara then captures her. Well, of course, like all Batman rogues, they always get away.
Right.
So it was fine. It wasn't what I was hoping for. I would have expected a little bit more from it.
It brought the whole down.
Yeah.
So I think the first three parts I would give a 9, and then the last part 7. No, 6. I did not like it.
I'd give it a 7. I mean, it wasn't great, but I do think the art was fairly decent in that part.
So excited for it because I know Batgirl's getting a new outfit too coming up here.
Oh,
soon.
really?
Yeah.
They're getting rid of her Veronica Mars pocket suit.
She's going back to more of that, like
Her
the
armored
black
one?
suit with the gold.
They said they're going for a darker Barbara Gordon.
Ooh, so we're gonna get my favorite kind, the one
guess
from
so.
New 52.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Batgirl number 25. That's Gideon Falls number 6. The Wild Storm number 16. The Magic Order.
Holy shit!
Number 3. Batman number 53. And Coyotes number 5. Right.
Yep.
Pick up those books where you pick up your books. I don't know where you live, so I don't know what you.
I don't know what you. I don't know your life.
I want to be like, I don't know what's around you, so I don't know what you have. Digital, local comic book store, or if you need to search them and get them online and get them sent to you, whatever you want to do.
Whatever you want to do.
Supercon 2018, Return of the Con, September 28th, 29th, and 30th. Tickets on sale at supercon.com. Alex, we're going to be there doing a show, aren't we?
Yeah, we're going to be there on the 28th doing a live show for everyone. What's it going to be called? Wednesday Comics After Dark.
And not only us are going to be there, a lot of people are going to be there. Phil Hester, right, Garrett?
Yes, Phil Hester, the current artist of Batman Beyond. He's done other projects like Shipwreck. He's done some Swamp Thing that you may or may not have seen, and some Holland Files that came out recently.
Not only Phil, Science Steve, Shay Fontana, Tony Fleece, Travis Nye, Midwest, all doing a show the 28th. They'll be doing a show that night. That's the main attraction that night. Jill Thompson, Ryan Cody, John Allen, and more. Tom Wynn. Going to be at supercon.com. Make sure there's a lot going on that weekend. I would say, if I am going to tell you any kind of advice, buy that weekend pass. You won't regret it. You got MAP concert that night also. You got Wednesday Comics After Dark. And then you got a whole weekend of stuff to do, people to see. Supercon.com for more information. We're here today to talk about a new top five in a while. By the way, I am. We started the show. I'm sick. and I took medicine and I felt better. But for some reason, now that we're getting hotter, I'm fucking losing it, dude.
Oh, I say it's warm in here.
That's when Alex was like, what? When we were talking about Batman, like Marvin turned the fan on me and I was like, oh yeah.
So apologies.
We always keep it hot in here in the studio. Just like
Keeps us alive or dead.
So we're going to do a top 5 today. Top 5 series that you've been meaning to read. We're going to do so ones that maybe you've never completed and you feel guilty about it, or ones that like are on that comic book. The way I look at it this way is that sometimes when we're on the show and I'm like, oh, I haven't read that, I feel like a little bit like a fraud being like, yeah, we're not all experts here. There's some people like that write comics. They go, oh, yeah, I went back and read. Like they'll go back and do research when they get on Batman. They go back and read a lot of Batman. So like they're not experts either. But there is a little, for me at least, I feel a little bit guilty sometimes when we talk about things. I'm like, oh, I haven't read that series yet. Like I really should go back and read it. So that's what this is. Top 5 series that we've been meaning to read. And Garrett, we'll start with you. Number 5.
my number 5 is Sandman. Luckily, we're doing the first volume for Wednesday Comics League of Extraordinary Gentle People. Proudly presents our book club. To that ass backwards, but that's the first volume is Preludes and Nocturnes. I've always wanted to read that because I literally see every time when I hear anything about Sandman, everyone's like the best Vertigo series of all time, the best like limited run series of all time, and I'm like, what is all the commotion behind Sandman? I know people love it left and right, and I know the artist is the same artist from like Arkham Asylum with Grant Morrison, so that's gonna be a big hump for me to get over because I don't know, that art style for that book didn't really get to me. Neither did that story. It's the only thing by Grant Morrison.
Yeah, but I'll admit that you and I played Arkham Asylum, and when you get into that book, you're like, okay, this has nothing to do with the game. No, it's literally about just Arkham Asylum.
Right. But yeah, I want to know why everyone likes this book so much. I want to enjoy it like Neil Gaiman. He's won a bunch of awards for writing, so I'm definitely into that. And then maybe over time, if I do ever get to read it, I can see what the new Sandman universe that's coming into the DC Comics will be about. So that's my number 5.
Alex?
My number 5 is Chew. So I've actually read the first 5 issues, but getting into Leviathan and then going to be reading Farmhand, all by the same team. I mean, they're Leviathan's by John Layman, and what's the
Farmhand?
Yeah, what's Farmhand? What's his name?
Rob Guillory.
Yeah. Okay. So they each are both doing a separate book. And I was like, you know what? I want to read this book that Marvin had told me in the past is great. Top notch. Fine delicatessen right there for you. I want to read this book. I know it's going to have that mystery-esque for me. I hear it's hilarious with little nods to other things. It's a book that it needs to be in my repertoire. So it's on my list.
It's a fantastic series that shows the evolution of Pollo from a mere chicken to Secret Agent Pollo.
That's why I want to read about Chick.
My number 5 is, I was trying to figure out like what specifically to call it, but I don't know if there's exactly one volume that's about it. But it's and you understand when I say it here. It's kind of like saying this person's run on this series. Denny O'Neil's run on Batman. I hear Grant Morrison talk about it all the time, and how in the 70s he went on this run where he was kind of like more like James Bondish and like going around the world. And I really want to read that Batman, and it's hard to find like that story. I don't know where that is. I don't even know if there's a trade of it.
I know that one of the big famous covers from that run is where it's Neil Adams and him, Joker with that card where Batman's on the card being like thrown across and Batman's like laying back against the playing card.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one by Denny O'Neil's from his.
And run. I'm hoping that when DC starts this online streaming service, that's going to be on there. That's where I'm going to read it. But it's very hard to read old DC stuff sometimes unless they put out a collection. And right now they're kind of going through Batman, like Golden Age, and now I think they're in Silver Age for Batman. So I'm kind of waiting for them to get there. So, but that's something that I've been wanting to read for a while because that's a Batman that I haven't seen. I've seen like I've read on Hoopla the Golden Age kind of Batman. More detective-ish kind of guy. And then I've read some of the this Batman right here, Smiling Batman, Cape Crusader as Alex called it, the Batman that's kind of they based 66 off of the Adam West series. And I've read like 80s Batman and beyond, but that 70s is where it eludes me, and so I need to read that Batman.
My number 4 is Invincible by Robert Kirkman. Especially with getting Ryan Otley on Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man right now. I would really like to go back and read that whole series. I know they have big compendiums like they do for Walking Dead. I've heard it's a great series, and I think that art by Otley would be something fantastic to be able to see each issue. I've always loved the colors. I've always wanted to read this book. And so, yeah, maybe someday I'll get to it, and yeah, I'm very pumped for it. Because it's an original superhero idea. Robert Kirkman has been a great storyteller. And yeah, I'm definitely interested in reading that series.
Invincible.
That's a good choice. That's one I would really like to read.
Invincible, a series that, because for Christmas we usually give each other like a trade or something comic related, right? I give your brother the first trade.
I know you gave it to him, and I was just like, fuck, I would have read this shit out.
I know. Has he read it?
No.
Yeah, I don't think
Ask
so.
him if you can borrow it.
Regift.
If it's not Spider-Man, Corey says,
Which is weird because Invincible, I think he's a lot.
That's why I got it. It was like
Spider-Man-esque.
Spider-Man in a different universe, basically.
So my number 4, John Boylan, this is for you. I got Saga the Swamp Thing. All that, at least the 6-issue volumes I know that are out. So when we read it for our last book club entry, I loved that book way more than I thought I would. No offense to the Swamp Thing, but when I read it, it reminded me so much of Hellboy. I was like, you know what? I need to get me some more green action. I am so down to read this book. You know what? So anyway, that's on my list. This is a book that I have actually thought about just going, I need to binge buy it and read that.
Can I make an addendum, little add-on to your suggestion? That also would be on my list, but I would want to find those issues, because when he showed us the difference, I was like,
yeah.
somebody's going to fucked over read these trades.
I don't have the money to
I know, that's going to be
dish out for
expensive.
that. And I'm all for getting issues. But even I'm like, yeah, this will be easier just to buy the...
Yeah.
John Boylan, when are you
Collections.
making Swamp Thing Museum in Sioux Falls, then we can come look at it?
Holy shit. Yes, we'll be there.
My number 4 is a series that I have a couple of trades of, and it's been a series. I mean, I like this guy a lot, and I have a couple of the volumes here, but I don't have the full run. But it's been a series that I tried to start that first volume a couple times, and I don't know why I can't get through it.
I just want to make a guess.
Huh?
Scalped.
No, it's not that. But it's around the same time. It's Ex Machina by Brian K. Vaughan.
Oh, okay.
It is a series, and I've been looking for a political book, and it is very political. It takes place around 9/11, and it's about I read the first issue. That's all I
Also,
read.
it's not like the movie called Ex Machina?
No.
Oh.
That's a good movie though. It's in the first issue.
didn't know.
He is basically a rich guy who can make his own. He makes a super suit.
Iron Man.
And in the first issue, he stops the plane from hitting the Twin Towers, and he stops 9/11, and that's how it starts. So that's the first issue. And I'm almost like, oh, cool, I want to read that, but I've never gotten around to reading it again. I don't know why.
That does sound awesome.
I always feel super guilty when people talk about Brian K. Vaughan and be like, yeah, Ex Machina was good. I was like, I wouldn't know, but and he's one. Alex can attest. We talk about Saga all the time, how great it is, and why I'm not going back and reading this guy's old stuff.
No, I'm just saying this as a side, Marvin. There's one book that literally needs to be on this list, or I'm going to cry. We'll get to it at the end. We'll get to the end of it, and we'll see if I cry or not.
Garrett, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is Trinity by Kurt Busiek and Mark Bagley.
Oh, hey.
Yeah.
It's on Hoopla.
It is, all of it?
Yeah.
Damn. Dude, Mark Bagley, great artist, but I've heard, the Trinity never really was a thing for a long time until I've heard this series. I heard Kurt Busiek laying down the groundwork to make them the Trinity, the big 3 that we always look to, which is Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Even on some Justice League runs, it's hard to get anyone else some limelight besides those 3. But I think that this book would be awesome to read, only if I don't have to deal with basically the holding other heroes back. I just get to focus on these 3 just doing what they do best. And, I think they do have a really great bond comparative to the other superheroes. Remember reading that Wonder Woman annual by Greg Rucka?
Yeah.
When Superman and Batman and her were at that rock or whatever. I just remember, it's been a while, but I remember reading that and being like, yeah, these 3 really care for each other. They are the heart of the Justice League.
Well, even when we get the Francis Manapul Trinity, the first 6 issues, where you can believe that they actually are a family of 3,
right? And that's a big shame that series went the way it did. Yeah. But so definitely want to check that out someday. I'm pumped that it's on Hoopla because that's cool.
I need to make it an addendum to what I said.
He lied to you. He lied.
It was on there. because I remember seeing the cover. It's not on there anymore. I don't know what happened.
Go watch Argo, Marvin.
Alex,
This is a shout out to guest host number 1. Marvin and Garrett can both attest to this series being great. Written by one of my least favorite writers, Brian Michael Bendis, Ultimate Spider-Man. I have read.
That's been the shame of all of us that Alex doesn't.
The weird thing is that I really, obviously not compared to Corey, I love Spider-Man. Like, he is probably one of my favorite characters. And I've only read, I'm going to say, less than 20 issues of Ultimate Spider-Man. What I've read is good. But all I hear from you guys when we do talk about it, and after I get the shit kicked out of me today, I'll probably have to pick it up and start reading it.
You know what's going to make it feel worse? You know what's the one mini that I think about in that series that is like one of the best? Is the Kraven the Hunter mini. And that there's little arcs that they put on the edge of each comic, and there's a 3-issue Kraven arc in Ultimate Spider-Man. That's amazing.
It's not the, like, Volume 3 has got Kraven and Dr. Octopus. It's actually it's a separate thing.
Yeah. Oh, it's pretty early on. I think it's only in the 30s somewhere in there.
I'll have to read that.
Dude, Ultimate Spider-Man, fucking amazing.
So anyway, I think for me, it's one of those things I would like to actually like a Brian Michael Bendis book, because all I ever have to say about him is not nice things.
Yeah, but I mean, that was the time when his career was flourishing, I'd say.
Yeah. And I know that he's going to write that New Avengers book I think it's called New Avengers, right? The one he did, the 64 issues, yeah, where it's Secret Invasion and Civil War and all that jazz.
Cage, Wolverine, Spider-Man, Jessica
Ronin.
Jones. Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
My number 3 is a book from a creative team, and I think it's the only thing from them that I haven't read. Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips on Fatale. I have never read it, but I heard it's good. It's over.
And I almost picked up that whole series on eBay.
That's the series that I got to get. Like that.
That's one I want to buy.
I love all their other series. That's the one I skipped over for some reason. I think it was at the time, the supernatural kind of twist on it. And I was like, I don't need that. But the rest of their stuff is so good. It's like, nah, I got to go back and see how that is.
Well, yeah, because they said that during, I think it was between 2 series they did Fatale. And they had another one going on at the same time.
It's probably during Criminal and between that and the Fade Out, right?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, it was definitely before the Fade Out. But yeah, that art style is obviously great. And yeah, it just looks really good.
That's something that I need to catch up on, and that is on Hoopla. I just checked.
So that is something I would want to get in issues because I know those covers would look spectacular.
Oh, yeah.
Number 2?
My number 2 almost would have been my number 1, but my number 2 is Emerald Knights, and that's kind of cheating because it's Green Arrow and Green Lantern teaming up together. Denny O'Neil wrote it. But it's kind of, sometimes it's in the Green Lantern book, sometimes it's the Green Arrow book. But there was a saga called Emerald Knights where they teamed up together for about, 60, 70 issues. And I've always heard that run is like one of the best, like most fun buddy cop kind of type DC character stories of all time. So that one I definitely want to check out. And I know there's an omnibus out there. I think it's like $100, make you holla. So someday I'll be reading that. Maybe because I got that. I'm getting that DC online streaming service. So
and so for 60 issues, that's not too bad of a price, though.
That's true. But
I mean, I understand what you're saying. Yeah. If you're going to already be paying for something else, you might as well just read them on there.
Well, I'll see if it's going to be on there. But.
Yeah. So my number 2 is Proof. I don't remember who writes it, but I know Riley Rossmo did the art. So when I got this book, that's all it was going to be. So a detective finds Bigfoot or Sasquatch, whatever name you prefer, and he becomes a cop. And so
Sasquatch becomes a cop?
Yeah. Oh. And so I have not read any of it. It had a 5-issue mini to wrap it up, and I think it was called Endangered Species. I just want to get into this book. I do like that supernatural-esque thing. I did buy it.
Oh, cool.
And I like detective things. I used to want to be a cop before I, started settling for something else that I'm doing. This show.
Oh, nice save.
And so I need to get into it. It's one of those things that once I get done with Sweet Tooth, I think that's going to be on my list to read.
You're going to yell at me and make fun of me, but what book was that?
Proof.
Oh, yeah. Bigfoot? Okay. I heard all of what you said, but I missed the title, and I was like, I'm trying to figure it out. Be like, let's figure this thing out. What is it?
Yeah.
But I haven't heard
Marvin's not detective.
Bigfooty pajamas.
I haven't heard about Proof in forever. Proof is a book that came out a long time ago.
Yeah. And I talked about it for a long time, wanting to get it. I got it, just haven't read it.
If you ever need
who wrote it?
The first issue, I have it. I forget.
Well, I already have the first issue.
Oh, I have like a couple issues.
I got the whole art. I got the whole run.
Oh, I started.
Did you miss that too?
Yeah,
I heard everything you said except for anything
hear that.
important.
I forgot about it. My next one is speaking of the year Jeff Lemire. There's one book in his. I mean, there's more than that. Sweet Tooth that you talked about before that is on this list, but more than that, Essex County that he did.
Oh, I have heard of that. That one I do want to check out.
That
too.
it's I've been hearing is a lot like Royal City, and I know people hearing this be like, "There, he's running at Essex County. He loves Jeff Lemire." I know. That's what it pains me every single time that we talk about the year of Jeff Lemire, and I haven't read like his thing that made him popular and got him noticed was Essex County, and it's about basically these kids growing up in Canada. It's very like personal to him, and it's a book I've been wanting to read, and they have like a nice collection of it. And there's no reason why I don't have it. The only reason it's time and me just not getting it. But that is a book I need to check out, and that's a book I need to get. We love Jeff Lemire so much. And that story seems like the Jeff Lemire I like. So
there was a book that came out a couple years ago, and maybe I'm wrong. Did Jeff Lemire write Plutonia?
Yeah, he did.
Okay, because that's a book I want to read.
That's like
it's not on this list, but it's something I'd like to read.
Yeah, where the kids find the superhero in the woods.
I think so.
Yeah.
Mine numero uno, and don't cry, guys. Okay, I only hear you talk about it like all the time. But Saga,
Hell yeah!
by Fiona Staples and Brian K. Vaughan.
Can I get a hell yeah?
Hell yeah! I was trying to pull an Alex, and I was checking eBay for those issues. Yeah, I'm not spending $300, so I'm just getting the trades. But
Hey. Get the library edition.
yeah, I'm gonna get the library editions. But these two rave about this book, and I'm hoping I would love to get it get caught up and then read it issue by issue with you guys. But I don't know what I'm going to do with that yet. But, you guys have told me such great things about it. The covers are really great. And Brian K. Vaughan, we've read Why the Last Man, one of the best series of all time. And, I've read Paper Girls, which is like, oh yeah, not Marvin, sorry. You want to know the spoiler at the end? Just kidding. But Paper Girls has been a hit or miss. But I would love to see him on this because, these two got me on Deadly Class that I had never read before, and that was amazing. So I can only think that Saga is going to be
they're going to be on more than your break.
If I may say so, I would say Saga is overall a better read than Deadly Class. That first year of Deadly Class, amazing. You know that.
Right.
But Saga overall, it maybe has had 8 issues of weakness, and they're still good.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It's like I've heard this is like one of the best comics out there, so I would like to catch up. And I don't know, it's just my collector brain's like, why would you get it in trades and then get the rest in issues? But I don't know.
Do you have any right now?
Do I have what?
Any of it?
No.
They have those big oversized books.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about.
Oh yeah,
Library editions.
You can get like 2 of them and catch up.
I'm gonna say I think you'll get it to 40. The first one's up to like 26 or something. So you're gonna be pretty close.
Right.
It's just, are you gonna be able to read 54 issues in a year?
Yeah.
Alex read them in a day, right?
Yeah.
I read 45 of them in one day.
Crazy.
That's how much. That's how great this is.
Alex, that's 450 minutes.
Alex was like, I'm not going to sleep until I finish 45 issues of this.
For the record, I started at like 6 in the morning. Took me until probably almost midnight. I mean, I had to eat and take a break from time to time. I'm not a machine.
Yeah, if you took no breaks, 7.5 hours would have taken you. Well, each one was 10 minutes.
To be fair, I'm not a quick reader either.
Really?
I am kind of a dinker around when I read. So yeah, 15 minutes each.
Wow. That's a lot of
I'm not a Garrett. I just go
12 hours.
18 issues.
Right.
Wow.
In that first book. So if it's 18 per.
So 36 is what you could get up to.
36 and 2, and then one more up to 50. So there'll be 3 books you can get.
It'll probably come out here soon.
Dude, go back and get 50, 51, 52, and 53 and 54. Be rock solid.
Alex?
My number 1 is actually a book that I thought Marvin was going to say, and he didn't say it, so I'm okay with that. I have the whole run, 1 through 60, I used to really talk great things about this writer. He writes Thor, and he writes Avengers, which I'm not a fan of, but Jason Aaron wrote Scalped, and I have the whole run. And I've heard such good things about it. That was a part of it, is that I actually love Native American stories. And I almost I always wonder, and I ask my wife when we're driving from Omaha to Sioux Falls or anywhere around, in the rural areas, like what would this place be like if we didn't show up, if things didn't get built? This is a book that I had looked for years, finally came across it. And I was like, I got to get this. I got to get in issues. I love me some Jason Aaron. So that's on the list right after Proof.
It's right over there, back there. I got the first 2 volumes. If you want to see what it's about, it's basically Sopranos on a Native American reservation. That's
cool.
what it is. My number 1 is a book that I have the whole thing of.
If it is literally not this, I may punch you.
Yeah, we
is-
know what it is.
It's a thing I've been wanting to read for a while, and it's
Have he and I both read the whole thing?
It's at your fingertips. We know it is.
BPR. No, sorry. Why the Last Man by
Oh, thank God.
Brian K. Vaughan. There's nothing in.
I shit you not. I may have punched you.
There's a list of things that I feel guilty about, right? Because everybody feels guilty about something.
Well,
this
Descenders
thing,
up there.
this thing, this thing is top 5 because not only did I tell you guys to start reading because I read the first book, those books that came out of it, and I was like, you guys got to read this thing, and then you both read it before I did. Not only that, then you guys were like, fuck, this guy's never gonna read this, so you bought me the whole thing for Christmas.
Still haven't read.
When was that? Last year or the year before?
Last year.
yeah,
Because we
last
teamed up together.
So it's been 8 months. Still not having gone.
Are they even out of the plastic yet?
Dude.
Are they even out of the box that we put them
Here,
in?
let me check right here.
Oh my
my
God. Yeah, like you're going to find him over there.
No, I don't think they're out of
Oh,
plastic.
Marvin.
They're thrown in the trash.
That is one of my favorite series that I've completed of all time. So good.
You know what? Actually, I don't know where they're at. I do have them somewhere, but
Wow, some gift.
No.
but yeah, I haven't. I don't think that I'm near 100% sure they're not out of plastic, and that's what makes me feel.
That's
guilty.
okay, but like, I mean, I think, all those that you've mentioned, dude, like nothing gets me Jones than reading a book that you guys have read that you're like getting me into. I think you'd feel the same way. Like you're being like, holy shit, like these guys are right. Like this book was incredible.
You know what? I'm going to make this right now. The shout out, if Marvin hasn't read it, is going to be volume 5 of Why the Last Man will be what we have to read for our book report, our book
hell
show.
yeah.
So Marvin has to read all 60 issues just to read them.
I like that idea.
I'll even read all
pretty
60
evil.
issues.
Same thing like Descender. I caught up 100%. I know what's going on.
Fuck you. That's a good choice.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
good
it's
choice.
really good choice.
Top 5 list. This should have been the top 5 books I feel guilty about not reading yet. That's what it should be.
Yeah.
Oh, we can call it the guilt trip.
But that's the thing about, and that's the thing actually, what originally was going to be the free talk is that there's so much, and you want to be as like a comic book reader. There's a different mentality. I mean, book people do it too. They collect books, right? I guess movie people, everybody does it. Everybody, whatever vice you have, whatever hobby you want to get into, there's so much of it, and you want to collect it all. And I had this mentality, and I admitted this on the show when a comic book look was on here around last year, I think. That there's this mentality of being like, oh, I better get all this stuff so that like I can read it one day. And when you get, I mean, I'm not super old, but you're getting up there in years. You get to a point where you're like, hey,
No, you're old.
maybe it's time to stop collecting and start reading these things. Because whenever I see these books, I had this thing in my head. I'll see a book and be like, I should read that. And be like, no, let's save that. I'm gonna wait and read that. Like I want to, make sure I don't run out of stuff to read. But you never run out of stuff to read. And that's the thing. I'm gonna have to get over to start reading these books. Is for some reason in my head I'm like, one day I might run out of stuff to read, so I better keep that on the back burner. And it's like, nah, come on.
I've stopped buying things in bulk like that because I have so much.
I know that's the thing.
So much.
I haven't bought a trade in forever because I'm like, no. Every time I do, I'm like, I got something to read. I can't get that.
I think the trades that I buy are generally for the book club. But as I do it right now, when I catch up on, and I know Garrett reads it differently than I do, you'd read your issue, like a current issue you wanted to read, a past issue that you wanted to read, and then you'd read your brother's. But like how I do it, I read all my current, like the things I get weekly, and once I'm caught up, I binge read Sweet Tooth, or I'll binge read Scalped or Proof or whatever it will be, and that way I'm getting the full story or I get a full arc in before the next week when I get more books.
Right.
It's been Wednesday Comics. You can leave us a voicemail 605-215-1849. Wednesday Comics 605@gmail.com. Leave us an email. If that's the way you want to go. And also, if you don't feel like calling that phone number, you can go ahead and send us an audio file, record it on your phone, and then send it to us. We'll also listen to that way too if you want to pick up the phone. At Wednesday Comics, at Alex Pastrello on Twitter, at Karat2188, and at Marvin_Salguero. Find us on Twitter. Follow us and talk to us. Let us know what you feel guilty about not reading yet. On Facebook at facebook.com/Wednesday Comics Podcast. Make sure to like the page and tell your friends to like the page. Share the page. And go ahead and let everybody know about the Joy Wednesday Comics. Let them know also they can subscribe on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, and Spotify. And you can listen to the show on YouTube also. More video stuff to come. I know we've been wanting to get into it more, and I think we're ramping up and bringing the show to new levels, so we're looking to do different things. Siouxpercon 2018, Return of the Con, is September 28th, 29th, and 30th. We'll be there the night of the 28th doing a live show. Make sure you tell everybody to come. The room is going to be packed, and we're going to do a nice show with guests of the show past. We have a nice show lined up for you, and we hope that you're there.
Nice.
There's a good possibility. I'm saying this now so that way you buy your tickets, go to siouxpercon.com. It's a good possibility that show will be that show, and it won't be released on this feed. We'll probably record something else for that week. But there's a good chance be there live, and if you want to experience that show. Just because logistically it's going to be hard to record that show. Oh. So we'll see. But rootsoftheswampthing.com, you can go there and read the Avatar Green, as Alex said before. Saga of the Swamp Thing. He's excited, got him pumped. Go to rootsoftheswampthing.com. You can see stuff from Swamp Thing past, a little Swamp Thing trivia. John is good about finding the nuggets. Every time I'm like, hey, do you know this about Swamp Thing? He's always like, yeah, you know, like he's got it up there. He knows, like if he shows up in a book, he knows. That guy knows the day before.
It boggles my mind how he knows these things. So Injustice versus He-Man, Mossman, and Swamp Thing. I even sent Boylan, hey, by the way, get this Injustice versus He-Man, Masters of the Universe, for those who don't know. He goes, bro, I already got it. Holy shit, how'd you know this stuff?
He's got a sixth sense for the Swamp Thing.
He's got his fingers in the green. He knows.
Yeah, he's hooked up, and he can read everything. So rootsofswampthing.com. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at DC World Swampy, and on Facebook at facebook.com/rootsofswampthing. What's the last thing here? Book club. We got a book club out, Garrett?
Yep. Wednesday Comics, League of Extraordinary Gentle People proudly presents Sandman, Preludes and Nocturnes, Volume 1 by Neil Gaiman and 3 other artists.
I always forget that it's your turn, so when you just get done saying it, I look at Marvin like, oh, what's the book? Oh, wait, it's you again.
Yes. Yeah, Sandman, you got until October 4th, I believe, to get it done. And right around then is Halloween time. And remember that Sandman Universe #1 just came out, so if you already are a fan of Sandman, don't forget that just came out.
That's the book club book for this quarter, and then after that, on that show, Alex will pick a new one. So if you want to send him suggestions.
You guys know it's already going to be Why the Last Man Volume 5.
That would be the biggest mic drop of all time.
At Alex Westrello on Twitter. You can send him suggestions if you want to. Good show, guys. You know, actually, a pretty decent show because Garrett was tired and I'm under the weather. I'm near dead.
I got more energy. I'm feeding off your life forces.
Dude, I'm going to say this right now. Honestly, probably one of the best shows I personally feel like I've done. I'm a chatterbox. I got things to say. I'm awake.
We just don't have the energy to tell you to shut the fuck up.
Well, that may be true.
Do you think maybe because we're recording when there's daylight out?
To be fair, we're doing it on a different day. I'm awake. I mean, I've been up since like 4:30 this morning.
You're right.
But I'm awake.
I think you're right. Like, I feel like in the show, even though I'm sick, I have more energy because it's not 10 to, like, we finish the show, it's like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put it out there for our listeners. If you like this, Garrett, Alex, and Marvin, send it in and let us know, because we will do this more often.
And if you don't, we're still going to do it.
We might still do it more often for our sake.
I am a Daywalker. My name is Marvin.
I am Craven, the Alex.
I'm just an average Joe. I'm Garrett.
Hey, everyone. Keep turning those pages.